morning, hello, and welcome everybody. Jeff here from Heaven's Metal. And again, we have special guests with us. A couple months ago, I guess it was now, we had Lary on. We were talking about the brand new Trytan album, Blood of Kings. That lighting is not the greatest here. Has been, of course, it was released on CD. And we gave a big background discussion just on the album, Trytan's return after many years. And all of the things that were involved in that, and that's a great thing. We're going to have a link here. You can watch it again. But at this time, Lary wanted to go a little in-depth and discuss a little further the concepts and the lyrics. Because, as we all know, we get a great album, and sometimes we just listen to the rockin' music. And we don't always find the time to really connect or get down into the nitty-gritty of the lyrical content. Well, obviously, the artists write lyrics based on experiences and things that they want to get across. And so we brought Lary back on. We want to discuss the lyrics. We want to look at the in-depth views of some of these stories behind the lyrics and just kind of get an overall better picture of what is being portrayed here in the music and the lyrics. So Lary, welcome. Thanks so much for joining me again.
And thank you, Jeff. I'm so blessed, humbled, and thankful to be able to do this with you. You very quickly, it was kind of like, hey, do you want to? Yes. Yeah. And I just appreciate that, man. And I appreciate your gift and Doug and Heaven's Metal and all that you guys have done and are doing. And I'm very thankful, man. And I don't take this for granted at all. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, not a problem. It's been great. Yeah, my wife was telling me you should do more of those interviews because I kind of dig it. It's kind of like getting in, especially when we're bringing back. I love talking to people because, well, the same time I did your interview last time, I had also done that weekend another 80s band that had a reissue. So I don't know. To me, being an 80s child, it's great to talk to some of the people that I listened to back in the day all the time. So it was great to get to meet you and talk to you and all that. So I'm more than welcome to do it again. And especially now, we got the new album. Most everybody's been kind of, chewing it up for, weeks now. So hopefully, at this point, we will let you give them a little insight into, the lyrical content. And I think that's going to be great. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot too, because it seems like every time you listen to a song, if you really, depends on where you are emotionally and spiritually, it can say something different to you every time. So, but it's good to get, sometimes the artist's point of view and, what they were saying. So, it makes it a lot clearer. So I'm just going to, for the most part, turn it over to you. We're going to, we're going to be discussing, I assume, most of the songs, and I'm going to let you go ahead and take over and do what you want to do here, and we'll converse.
That's it, man. Thank you so much. I was thinking about this, and companies and churches, ministries, parachurch organizations often have a mission statement, and I didn't really have a mission statement that I wrote down for Trytan or for the Blood of Kings album, but I always in every season, a new year, a new mission, a new ministry, I try to get a word from the Lord and have sort of an ethos, a code that goes with that ministry or that purpose and that mission. And I thought about the Blood of Kings mission statement. So it was more of an aftermath, like, okay, Lord, what was really on my heart? What was really the intent of this album? And there's a lot there. There's some big spirals, and there's a few different, very, I would say, needful areas that we delve into. Some grand themes, some pretty key running thread themes through the album. But the mission statement that I came up with is this: one, to rescue lost souls who don't know Christ. Number one. Number two, we want this album to build up and inspire Christians who do know Christ to know him more and to share him more. Three, for God's people and all people to be in awe of him in a life-changing and effective way. And four, to write and play with breathtaking passion and precision for the glory of the Lord. I really have a heart for, the virtuosos out there. Not that I claim to be by any stretch of the imagination, like Eric, a musician's musician. But I do have a heart for those guys, you know, the Joe Satrianis, the John Petrucci's, the Andy James, the Pliny's, the Marcos Fogli, Eric Johnson, on and on and on. I really respect those musicians and those virtuosos, and I have a heart for them. It's an affinity group that I've spent a lot of time being around and praying for. And when I look at the awesomeness of their gift, and then I look at the awesomeness of God and know that their gift came from the Lord, and then sadly to realize or recognize a disconnect, like, you know, some of these amazing musicians, you just know by their lifestyle or their lyrics or just the way they live, etc. Man, they probably don't know the Lord, and that's just the heaviness in my heart. You see this amazing gifting that you know came from the Lord, and yet they don't know the Lord. And I suppose I'm just sort of at the beginning of attempting to try to do something in that area. But the first song on the track, The Descender, and really the whole album attempts to have an awe factor. For years, and Jeff, I know you could say a lot about this too. You know, the church and ministry has worked really hard to domesticate God, and that's had us into a place of diminishing God or eradicating God altogether, where we domesticate God, and I suppose it comes from a pure desire to want people to know the Lord, but we make him so chummy and so domesticated, so diminished, that we're going against the truth of the Word of God. Certainly the leading of the Spirit. The Spirit of God will never cause us to be disconnected from the awesomeness of God. You know, he is with the Father and the Son, God, and never forgets who he is. But I think in the Jesus movement in the 60s, you know, when the hippie love thing was in full swing, somehow we made God so palatable, and we wanted to make him so approachable that we kind of crossed lines to where we forgot how incredibly awesome and holy and mighty and fiercely amazing God is. And we will not be moved by a God that we are not in awe of. And I think that's one thing really heavy in my heart in ministry, you know, as a pastor, but also as a musician. As we, like you shared, we discussed it at length, hopefully not ad nauseum, in the first interview, about my motivation to do the Trytan album again after 30 years. But it's certainly all Trytan albums, and past, present, and future, are going to be to restore a sense of awe, and so for people to see the awesomeness of God, and to be moved, and to counter the effect of how we've worked so hard for decades to make God palatable, and unwittingly perhaps domesticating God, and you know, in an effort to help people know him, but we've got out of balance, and you know, The Descender is one song in particular that I really hope and pray shows Christ as the supernatural warrior, rescuing king that has come to reveal the truth and love and grace of God, and to ultimately suffer and rescue mankind through his cross and resurrection. You know, The Descender captures, you know, his first incarnation, his first visit to earth, but then it awakens us hopefully to his second return, where he's not going to come as a, you know, as a limited man in finite flesh, God incarnate, but veiled in flesh, where he's going to come back again with fire in his eyes and a sword in his mouth. And The Descender creates a powerful contrast between his first descent to earth and his birth his incomparable life and his incredible suffering and sacrifice for us, and then points us to realize his second descent that is forthcoming as he settles all accounts and comes as the victorious king. And we've seen, and I don't know a person that teaches the word like yourself or me that doesn't see this sort of lackadaisical disconnect that people have to who Christ really is. That, he's not, a tired preacher at the well outside his sidecar, like in John chapter 4, or, even carrying his cross outside of Jerusalem. He is that no more. He has risen. He is reigning. And as I just jump into the lyrics, the descender, he stepped into time, tearing through the darkness, giving up his life just to save us. And his star was in the sky, lighting up his mission, taking back the kingdom and crown. It's going down. He stepped into time. He left his glory behind, and he tore through the darkness. And I just love metaphors like that capture a window into Christ's rescue mission to earth. And his whole purpose was to give up his life just to rescue us from sin and death and wrath. His star was in the sky, of course, an allusion to, the star over Bethlehem, this supernatural thing that really happened, that history shows happened. And that star lighting up his mission, which was to take back the kingdom and the crown, which man forfeited to Satan through the fall into sin. It's going down. So, his first mission as the descender was to defeat sin, to taste death for every man, and to crush Satan, sin, and death through his cross and resurrection. And it went down. It was going down. And the verse 2 flashes into what I hope is a window to the background that was happening at Christ's first visitation. Kings and demons cried. The grave was in his crosshairs. I have a pretty special affinity with the military at this point in my life. And crosshairs, of course, the sight on a weapon, a rifle, an M4, etc. The grave, our grave, was in his crosshairs, never to survive in this God storm. Yes, he came here to die. Death's grip could not hold him. He stole the crown. It's going down. And so he fulfilled his mission. I'm always captured by the finishing dimension in Christ's life. John 4:34 says, he told his disciples, my food, my sustenance is to do the will of him who sent me, the Father, and to finish his work. So nothing could stop Christ from getting to the cross. I'm machine gunning through these lyrics, bro, because we got a lot of ground to cover. Yeah. You said you were gonna unleash me, but if you've got a thought, hold it. But I'm gonna get to the bridge where the song kind of breaks and it turns into more of a ballad, more of a dynamic turn, and it gets haunting. I hope haunting. And it says, the lyrics say, we've tried to warn you every way we can. You just keep pretending that all this will never end. He came down to suffer and paid the price for sin. He'll tear the sky and the flames will fly when he's coming back again. Yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back. Yeah, he's coming back again. And then it lifts and it builds, and then he's the sender. He's coming back. He's coming back again, and it kind of explodes into the outro of the song where it's back in full pulse, and hopefully there's a lift. One thing that I've learned through leading worship for 4 decades plus is that music has a flow to it, and through the years of worship leading is that when you're leading worship and you're leading God's people into his presence, it swells and there's lifts, and then it kind of dynamically settles down, softens, slows, so people can get on board. It's almost like a train that slows down enough for people to get on board, never tried to get by where I race train. There's train tracks, and some of those trains, man, they get going full speed. You'd never be able to get on a train like that, but the train has to slow down and even almost stop, so you can get on board, and then that can get up to full speed, and truth can get up to full speed. But the Descender, in that dynamic break, we tried to slow the song down so people can get on board and hear this call to, hey, he is coming back. The clock is running, time is running out. Quit pretending that all this will never end, and appeal to what Ecclesiastes says, that he's put eternity in the heart of every man, except that no one can find out the work that God is doing from beginning to end. And hopefully the Descender awakens people to, man, the awesomeness of Christ, what he has done, the awesomeness of his return. Revelations is clear on it. Thessalonians is clear on it. He is coming back, but he's not coming as a baby in a manger. And he's not coming back as a tattered preacher outside of Sychar or Galilee. He's coming back as the victorious king with fire in his eyes and a sword in his mouth, riding on a white horse. His robe is dipped in blood, and his name is written King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And this is the reality that we want to point people to. And when I was in the studio with Eric, just kind of wrapping songs up, wrapping up final tracks, and the Lord kind of gave me this sort of this lyric, this melody that kind of pops off right at the end where the instrumental takes over, and it says, he came down, stepped into time, and blew our death away. And when he comes back, he wants us to be ready for that day. We just want to almost be like a code blue and jolt people, awaken people's hearts to the reality of Christ's return and pull them into it, what he's already done. And that if he did what he said he was going to do, he said he was going to rise again, and he did. He said he's coming back, and he will. And that's really the heart and the messaging in the Descender, to see Christ in a biblical way, not in a nominal or watered down, congenial, palatable way, but to see him the way the Bible expresses him, as the victorious king. That's the Descender.
I'm not going to interact too much because I'm seeing you're on a roll, and I don't want to squelch your
Oh, man.
Most of the comments that I initially had just thought of was really just in agreeing with what you were saying about how the church has been, just making things too palatable, and I agree there.
Yeah.
But obviously the lyrics are what they are with the song. I'm not going to add anything to that. So, but I know that seeing how much you really want to, talk about this in depth, that I probably shouldn't ramble on and add anything much. So I'm going to skip it for now because we got a long way to go, and I think I'm going to let you just continue with what you've got until I feel that maybe something could be added there. But right now, I'm silent.
Praise God, bro. Well, I appreciate. I know when you got stuff, it's hard to get out of the way, but man, I know if you got some fire that you feel the Lord's put in you, man, I welcome it. And two are better than one, and I value your heart for the Lord and your insights very much. So, well, the next song on the